We just watched a season where the Seahawks pass rush showed up when it mattered most. And at the center of it, DeMarcus Lawrence, a player no one expected. When he left Dallas and came to Seattle, there were questions. Was he past his prime? Was this just another veteran chasing a bigger payday? There were those that mocked him, saying he could never win a Super Bowl with the Seahawks. In the end, he got the last laugh and proved everyone wrong, giving us one of the best seasons of his career and playing a critical role in our championship season. Hustle and grit. Big moments. And countless plays that helped punch our ticket to the Super Bowl. But now imagine a world in which we just lost two of our best edge rushers, and as if that wasn't enough, suddenly DeMarcus Lawrence announces his retirement. Now the Darkside defense that tormented the NFL suddenly has a gaping hole they need to fill. This is not what Mike McDonald meant when he talked about chasing edges. So now in episode 3, we run a mock draft built around that nightmare scenario. Welcome back to the 12's War Room. Today, in episode 3, we will run through our mock draft 1.2, which adds a big wrinkle to mock draft 1.1 that we did in our previous episode. Last time we went into the draft with a clear need for edge rushers after losing both Mafe and Nwosu. But when Vega Owane and Jadarian Price fell to us, we just couldn't pass up those opportunities, leaving us with two edge rushers that are talented but are unproven against the type of competition that they'll face in the NFL. Today's mock draft turns up the heat even more as we explore what it would look like to lose not only Bryant, Woolen, Mafe, and Nwosu, but now we're hit with a DeMarcus Lawrence retirement. Lawrence had an amazing year. He comes over from Dallas with a bunch of questions and doubters and former teammates turning on him. Even I, at one point, I remember sitting in the stands for, I think it was the Raider preseason game, and my son and I both turned and looked at each other at the same time, and we both had the exact same thought. Oh yeah, DeMarcus Lawrence is on this team. So even among Seahawks fans, it was a fairly quiet signing with somewhat modest expectations. Then he goes out there at 33 years old and just plays out of his mind, if you ask me. He put up 52 pressures. He comes out there with an overall grade that PFF has him at 82.9, which is 13th out of 115 edge players. Number one in all edge rushers in the run defense. Earns a well-deserved Pro Bowl selection, and then, of course, hoists the Lombardi Trophy alongside his teammates. So a great signing and a great story, but all good stories have an ending. And he's going to be 34 this next year. He finally won that Super Bowl that had eluded him his whole career. And in this scenario, he hangs up his cleats and calls it a career. So unfortunately for John Snyder and the Seahawks, this happens after Mafe walks in free agency and after Nwosu departs as a cap casualty. So now we are down 3 of our 4 edge rushers.
Houston, we have a problem.
So the needs could not be clearer. Edge is now an absolute priority. So much so that I'm pushing safety into a secondary need. With Kobe Bryant's departure in my previous scenarios, I wanted to get someone to replace him. In this scenario, we're now approaching this draft with the assumption that Ty Okada is going to be our starting safety. He's an exclusive rights free agent, so we can get him back very cheaply, and he played well enough, so we are going all in on edge rushers. At least that's the mindset heading into the draft. Now watch, some elite can't miss safety will fall to us because that's the chaos of the NFL draft. So let's head over to PFF and see if we can end this nightmare scenario before it becomes a reality. Before we jump into the draft, we're going to take a quick look through the top free agents available at edge. So we're over here at the PFF free agent rankings. We're going to go ahead and sort this by edge defenders and see who the top players available in free agency are this year. At number 1, you've got Trey Hendrickson, who is going to be highly sought after this year. May come at a bit of a steep price, but did have a down year because of some injuries, so we'll see. Odafe Owe, a good option. A guy I really like, Jalen Phillips, had a really good bounce back year for the Eagles. He might be able to be somebody we could take a look at. There's our guy, Boye Mafe. And then you've got some veterans coming in with Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, and Jadeveon Clowney. A guy I would like to be considered is Jadeveon Clowney. Of course, he played 1 year for the Seahawks a few years ago. Had a good year, didn't put up a ton of sacks, but had a lot of pressures, was in the middle of some turnovers, was a really stout run defender, and still is to this day. He's barely lost a step. He keeps putting up the same consistent numbers. He's been on 7 teams in 8 years, but he's still productive. So those are the guys that are out there. Now, as I've said, I am approaching this scenario as if free agency has already come and gone. I am expecting most of these guys to be gone by the time we get to the draft. So if we're going to have any type of pass rush next year, we're going to need to really focus in on the draft and make that a priority, trying to replace 3 of our top 4 pass rushers. Now let's head over to the draft. Okay, let's get this underway. We are going to see what comes to us at pick number 32 this time. I'm seeing some of our good edge rushers already coming off the board. Now, we've got one trade opportunity that I'm just going to take a peek at. Okay, it would go all the way to 61 from 32. And look, hey, what did I tell you about a great safety following to us at 32? Emmanuel McNeil-Warren is a player I really like. We're going to look past him, though, on this one because I've got my eyes on the guy. Zion Young, edge out of Missouri, had a great season, highly productive, 32 hurries, 17 hits, 8 sacks. He is another one of those guys who's solid in the run game at 86.6. This is a no-brainer for me. We are going to go all in with Zion Young on our first pick. Of course, that eliminates our ability to trade back from our first pick, but we got the guy we wanted. Okay, right away, looking at our opportunities here at pick number 64, I see that we have some edge rushers if we wanted to double up right away. There's Malachi Lawrence, who is here now at rank number 61 in PFF. PFF does updates from time to time, and in the last one, a few of the players that I had my eye on have actually gone up quite a bit in the draft. A few have dropped as well. Malachi Lawrence looks like a guy who just recently got bumped up. He was being picked somewhere in 142 in their mock drafts, and now he's all the way up to 61, so things are looking up for him. I'll come back to him in a second as we evaluate that, but I guess I should say PFF is going to continue to rearrange their board and their rankings. You know, we're just in the middle of the combine right now. There's going to be pro days. There's going to be guys saying things they shouldn't or getting into trouble. There's going to be all sorts of movement as we go along in the draft process. And so it's very likely that a lot of these early drafts that I'm doing are going to be upended by changes and updates as we go along. That's okay. Again, this isn't about me trying to say, you know, what's going to happen or predict. It's just about trying to figure out what could happen and who could be available and therefore who might be options and how to fill the holes that we have. So Malachi Lawrence, you know, he's the guy who just moved up, had a good productive year, 40 total pressures. I don't love him in the run game. We'll come back and see how he compares. Joshua Josephs is a guy that I really like, had 3 solid, consistent years, great amount of pressures, a little bit better in the run defense grade, out of Tennessee, played against tough competition. I like him. I'm not a huge fan of LT Overton. Just not great in the run game, had a down year, not a whole lot of productivity. I'm not sure I am all in on him. Romello Height is a guy who had a very productive year. Some of the better numbers out of edge rushers coming out of Texas Tech, again, playing against good competition. Run defense maybe not as good as we like to see. So I have to decide whether or not I want to go ahead and double up right here. So we do have one trade opportunity. We'll go ahead and take a look. It's quite a drop off, and I don't like the opportunities that it gives us. I am going to play with the system just a little bit because there are a few edge rushers right there. And, you know, there's not a huge difference in my mind at this point in time, at this early in the draft process, and those 3 guys that we looked at. I'm going to see if maybe the Eagles will swap picks for me and see if I can just get a little something from them in return. So we're going to grab this trade if they accept it. And there we go. So we're going to go back 4 picks, pick 122. Looks like Josephs is off the board as well as Overton. I'm okay with that. I'm going to go ahead and grab the guy who I think has a little bit more production out of a bigger school, and that's Romello Height with my next pick. So we've doubled up on edge rushers now. You can see how we are living up to our priorities. I still would like to get a cornerback, probably a running back, and then see what else we can do. We've got 3 more picks in the draft, 1 at the very back end. So now we're here on the board at pick 96, and we're going to take a look and see what we've got. You know, if I was going to get really aggressive with edge rusher, there are still some guys coming up. I'm a little sad because a guy I like, Mikhail Kamara, he's already off the board, so we're going to have to look elsewhere. Of course, how could I forget our need at guard if we want to replace or at least provide competition to our right guard, Keelan Rutledge, good option out of Georgia Tech. Moving down the board a little bit, we've got Treydon Stukes. He's a cornerback, but I do believe that he could come in and develop into that Kobe Bryant safety type role. There's, I mentioned another set of edge rushers down if we wanted to triple up. Again, that's part of our priority, but that starts to feel a little bit single-minded and not very balanced. I like Jayshon Barham. The reason why I like him, you can probably guess. He had a fairly productive pass rush year. Not the greatest from a quarterback pressure standpoint. Played at Michigan. It's his run defense grade, guys. And maybe you can just tell, but I really put a lot of emphasis on that because I believe that fits the Seahawks, their culture, their team, their strategy. So I can't let that go. Let's see what trade opportunities there are. Dropping down from 96 to 110 and really not having a whole lot there available for us. I'm not sure I like that option. Go 3 picks further, and you could get some late round picks here. I wonder if we can talk them into giving us their 4th rounder for next year, and we can use that in a future trade. Why don't we go ahead and try it? There was really nobody there on that list that I just can't pass up on, so we'll see if they accept this. They do. So we're going to miss out on a couple of those guys. It's sad. Barham's gone. A couple of the other guys are gone, but we're going to figure out what to do next. Okay, we have got Billy Schrouth, a guard out of Notre Dame, who I think is worth taking a look at. Skylar Gill-Howard is a guy I like. Again, defensive tackle is not one of our primary needs, but he really has got some good numbers, solid in pass rush and in run defense. Had a injury-shortened season, but somebody that you could definitely take a look at. I skipped over Malik Muhammad, cornerback out of Texas. We do probably need a cornerback if we're going to lose Reek Woolen. His numbers are pretty modest, not wonderful, but not terrible. I like his passer rating that he gave up this year against great competition, so it's nothing to ignore. Further down the board, however, there is a guy I like, maybe just a little bit better. Let's see if I assume he's still here. Yeah, Julian Neal. He's quite a ways down. Better in the run defense, a little bit better grade in the pass game. And I kind of like him. He's a little bigger at 6'2". So I do, at this point in time, I like him a little bit better. So I don't know that we need to spend this pick on Malik Muhammad. We've got a pick 122 that maybe we could grab Neal then. So when I think it through, I think sticking with the trenches is the right play here. We're going to go with Billy Schrouth, guard out of Notre Dame with the 113th pick. And then we'll see who is still there at 122. Now, before we jump down all this way to grab our cornerback, I should mention there is also a guy we picked up in our very last draft, Ndame Tucker, a very talented edge rusher out of Western Michigan, probably unproven against NFL quality talent, but somebody available at this stage could be a great flyer. We're going to look at our trade options and see if there isn't something we can be creative, because we did pick up a round 4 pick in next year's draft. And just to keep things clean and even, I want to try to not end the draft with less or more picks for next year. I want it to be representative of what we do in this draft. So let's see what it would take if we put round 4 pick in there, what it would take to get some of these picks. How about this? Let's see if they accept this trade. Okay, they did. So we're actually getting this pick 126. We're not even having to move back because I threw in the 4th round pick from last time. I'm going to grab Tucker, and then a couple picks from now, we're going to go down and grab Julian Neal. So now I've got 3 edge rushers that I can plug in along with our corner, and we're going to see what's left here at 166. We've got our guard. One position that we don't have yet is running back, so we're going to see, probably take a look at that first and see if there's anybody available. As I go down the list, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and sort it, and holy cow, there is a major drop-off all the way down to 196 for the next running back in the draft. So we're looking at players that are much highly rated than they are. So we're going to make sure we don't just pass over too quickly anybody here. Okay, we've got both running backs out of Indiana all the way down the board. So it'd be a little bit of a reach from here. I don't know that they'll be available to us at 220, but that's a big reach. And there are a couple players here that I like. Sometimes I will grab Caden Curry because I think he's been extremely productive at Ohio State. Of course, he's benefited from playing next to a lot of other really good players that you're going to hear a lot about in this draft process. But one guy I'm going to take a closer look at is Tacario Davis. Again, you can call me a little bit biased because I'm a Husky, but this guy a couple years ago played really, really well during the Huskies' run to the national championship game. They did fall just short, but he played really well that year. He's fallen off a little bit under new coaching, but he is a 6'4" corner with really good athleticism. My understanding is that today he showed out pretty good at the combine, and so I would expect him to rise on the board a little bit after that. We will see how long he stays in this 178, 179 area. I kind of like him. I know I already grabbed a cornerback, but it wouldn't hurt to grab another one and add a little competition into that room. He is a guy that I like, and I think he's going to do pretty good in the NFL if he's given the right opportunity. We're going to go ahead and pick him, and then we're going to cross our fingers and see what kind of maybe running back or what other options falls to us at pick 220, which will be our last pick of the draft. We, I think, fulfilled our primary mission, which was to fill up our 3 edge spots. I didn't necessarily feel like I needed to draft all 3. I was definitely going to try to get 2, but we ended up getting 3. We also got our guard, and now we've gotten 2 corners. I told you guys that I didn't really think safety was as big of a need as before, and what I like here is that we did get a little bit lucky. Roman Hemby, don't know if he's really ready for the NFL, but he's so productive, and you guys saw it playing for Indiana in the national championship. He played against all the best defenses this year, and he was super productive, over 1,000 yards, got in the end zone 7 times. And I think he's going to be our guy at pick 220 to help fill in for the role that Zach Charbonnet left open when he got hurt. So that is the end of our draft, and we will head back over. Once we get PFF's grade here, we'll jump back over to the war room and give it our own grade. I'm not totally surprised if PFF doesn't love this, but I think Zion Young is an A pick for the Seahawks. They don't have edge as a need in PFF's system, which is why they graded a little bit lower. Likewise, Romello Height and Adame Tucker, they're giving me pretty bad grades for those, but I'm okay with that. We like Billy Schrauth. Again, we like Julian Neal, Tacario Davis, and Roman Hemby. So let's jump back over to the war room and see how we did filling up our spots. We are back in the war room post-draft to review how we did. We were trying to fill running back, 3 edge positions, cornerback, and a safety if possible, and we came away pretty well in this one. We stuck to our needs, but also I really don't feel like we passed up on any can't miss players this time around. In our previous draft, we wanted to get some edge rushers, but they just didn't fall that way. There was some players that were too good to pass up. This time I really felt like the board kind of aligned with our needs a little bit better. So we were able to get some good players and filled most of our needs. The only one we really didn't fill was at safety. But again, I put myself down for an F for that, even though I think Ty Okada is going to fill in just fine. I like, from a cornerback standpoint, one of them, if not both of them, should have the talent and the skills under the right development to compete for the role vacated by Tariq Woolen's departure. And then, of course, we've got the 3 very high potential edge rushers that we have, like what we did there, and I'm happy that we were able to provide some competition at guard. And then lastly, Roman Hemby, we just need somebody who can maybe come in and hold the fort down while Zach Charbonnet gets healthy, providing some competition for Kenny McIntosh and George Holani and anybody else that might be in that running back room. And I think Hemby could be a good addition to that running back room. And that's a wrap for Mock Draft 1.2. In episodes 2 and 3, we've been chasing edges, but not in the way Mike McDonald intended. This time, the draft fell in a way that was more aligned with our needs, especially at edge rusher. We were able to fill those needs without stretching and passing up more talented players. Next time, on episode 4, we'll tackle the question on everyone's mind. What happens if our Super Bowl MVP running back gets a contract offer from another team that has him running for the exit? And with Zach Charbonnet facing a long recovery from his injury that will stretch deep into the regular season, will John Snyder be able to fill the hole left by 2 of the top 5 graded running backs? Or will our new offensive coordinator suddenly find himself searching for answers? the Seahawks ground game may be running out of daylight. See you again soon in the 12's War Room.